my video series, The Road Less Taken. My name is Joshua Wang, and I'm a Year 12 student at Carlingford High School, but you guys probably already know that. This is the first of 7 episodes I'm releasing every Wednesday, 6 p.m. on Instagram in its short form, and on YouTube in its entirety. Now, these 7 episodes are kind of the main points I've learned over the last 1.5 years of kind of just exploring my life and finding what I want to do from it. And now, as we get into the episode of removing all our social media, I want to preface by saying that all the things I've said in these 7 episodes, or these things I'm going to say, are based off my own experiences. I don't want you to immediately copy them, but I want to give them kind of make you think about what you want to do with your own life through my experiences. And hopefully, you can get something valuable from these episodes. But without further ado, let's get started. So I'll begin with a little story. So it was the morning of the US election results day, and it's first period of Enterprise. I go in, and I sit down next to 2 of my classmates who, to no surprise, both have the election results open. Now, I personally had absolutely no idea it was the election day that day. And so I sit down and I ask quite a harmless yet kind of vague question to one of my classmates. But the response I got was quite interesting. I asked him, "Why are you looking at the election?" And he responded something along the lines of, "Because that's the only interesting thing in my life." Now, there are many interesting things in life. Social media trends, latest news, TV series, games, and sports. It's often seen as normal or kind of expected that we chase or do these things that never really end. I mean, think about it. Imagine if you did these things for a week, a month, a year, or maybe even your entire life. Every day going on the news, looking at the latest trends. Would you genuinely be happy? And that leads me on to the main point of today's video. Most of the reasons why we do these interesting things aren't because we genuinely enjoy it, but because everybody around us does it as well. And just because everybody around us does it doesn't mean we will genuinely care about it in the end. You can follow this road set out by others of social media and interesting things. But how can you find happiness in traveling a road you never really truly wanted to in the first place? Perhaps it is traveling your own road, one less taken, that you may find purpose that sticks with you, not for a month, not for a week, but for your entire life. It's easy to run away, isn't it? You feel part of a group, so it must be right? In trying to explain this question, I'm going to bring up another little story. So now that we're in year 12, we obviously don't have roll call anymore. So basically, most of the grade kind of really convenes in a cola, in kind of like blocks of like everyone's friend group in one, everyone's friend group in another. I remember one day, I just walked into another cola, all by myself, all alone. And I remember that one of the people just outside of one of the friend groups called out to me. He said, "Why are you standing in the middle of the cola alone, all by yourself?" And when I think back to that, it kind of reaffirms what I'm about to say. We like being part of a group, right? Makes us feel like we're doing something right in life. The party, the group chat, going to the concert together. I mean, who wants to feel alone? It just doesn't feel right. No one, it's weird, right? And obviously, friends are still very, very important, as we'll talk about in episode 3. But for now, understand this. How can you live your life if you still listen to what others say? Now, obviously, I'm not talking about health, research, doctor, research. That is still very important. But what I'm talking about here is social media. How can you find what you want to do in life if you only follow the people around you? And what we talk about next episode is being yourself. It's realizing that these trends, news, games, TV series, or even sports, are just ways for you to run away from your own life and kind of go and find these interesting things in replacement for what you truly want to do. And in reference to something we talk about later in the episode, doing what other people tell you to do, that's easy. Not doing what they're telling you to do, that takes courage. It's easy living your life listening to what other people say. On like social media, when joining a new group chat, or going to a new TV series that your friend asks you to. But perhaps truly living your life is having the balls to face your fears and issues that you ignore by going on social media, like your sleep, or your routines, or your study. But understanding that in episode 2, these things are improvable, and that only by hiding them do you make them worse. And it's understanding that only you have the right answer. No one else understands your life like you do. And I'll explain with a little story. Maybe you've ever been into one of those speeches or something where someone is talking, and you would really connect with the speaker, for example. And then after the speech is over and done, and you're gathering with all your friends, they might say oh, this was cringe, this was boring. And then suddenly all those original or really genuine thoughts you had, maybe the speech was good, you start to blend in with your friends, right? As I said before, it's easy, you feel part of a group, so it must be right. So you get all these ideas you used to have are just filled up, or maybe this is cringe and boring, or maybe you start to change when you're with a group. You start to fit in with them, less with yourself. And that's kind of the reason why I'm alone in the cold, right? The understanding that only you truly understand what you want in life. Only by doing it yourself can you really understand it. No one else can take that away from you. And on to our next main point, which is that, remember, happiness isn't something that you can see, but it's something that you feel. And I'll illustrate this with a kind of extreme example. Imagine that you're on a deathbed. You're sitting there, and you're kind of going through life, reminiscing on the different memories you have. Happy ones, sad ones, angry ones. The point is that all these interesting things in life kind of disappear. They don't really seem to hold any value when you're there, when you're at the end of things, at the end of life. Now, we don't have to go to these extremes. In fact, we can go to today. Maybe you can just look back over today, ask yourself, did you truly feel happy with what you did today? Maybe you were scrolling, maybe you were on social media, maybe you're watching a YouTube video. It doesn't matter. Whatever you did today, did you truly feel happy doing it? Or is there something else missing? Maybe it's because we care so much about what we don't have that we don't even stop to care about what we already have in life. As we talk about in later episodes, it's things like family, your desk in your room, yourself, and those old childhood photos in that cupboard that you've never opened. Because it's realizing that there is happiness in what life has given you. It's why we act different at home and at school. We do those university or personality quizzes and we can't find it. And why I'm making this video series to you. You watching this video, probably all alone by yourself. It's realizing that I'm talking to the real you, the genuine part of you, the one that isn't afraid of being judged by others on social media or at school. And as we talk about kind of a reoccurring motif throughout this whole video series, but it's your life at the end of the day. You. And it would be quite a shame if you didn't truly live it your way. No matter how much shit you see online, no matter how many times you do any funny comments, Instagram posts, talk at school, or try to hide things from yourself, it's your life. You know whether you're truly happy or not. And I think this is perfectly demonstrated from these two panels from the anime/manga series Great Teacher Onizuka, or GTO for short, which we will be talking about for the entirety of episode 4, which is kind of along the lines of fear and courage. We have these things we want to do, but we don't have the courage to do them. For example, this video series could not be possible without my boy Onizuka. But if you want to read along with these two manga panels, it's written right to left, top to bottom. Hopefully, you guys have finished reading both the panels now, but I'll give you guys kind of a little backstory to help you understand the scene a little better. So, there's this guy called Suguru Toshigawa who's born into this high-class, reputable Japanese family. As a result of feeling the pressure of being in such a high-class family, he's always wanted to get the top marks, 100% in high school, university, etc., etc., etc. And he's always had this fear of being a failure. And you kind of see this applicable in our lives as well. Like what the old lady said, it's having the courage to break from this path you follow because of everyone else and forge your own one. I mean, when was the last time you actually asked yourself, what am I doing? Or what am I doing this for? But of course, you can still follow this path of life blindly. Play it safe. Listen to what other people say. But at the end of the day, you might come back and realize that there was maybe something a little more in your life that you were missing. Something they call regret. So perhaps now you're looking for a change, but you might be scared to look at all of your social media accounts, fear of missing out on what your friends post or in the news. But in my honest opinion, there really is nothing more scarier than not being able to genuinely live your own life. And as we learn about more in episode 4, the great teacher Onizuka Ecchi once said, "Being afraid is normal. It's part of being alive. Without it, you're already dead. The biggest pussies in the world are the people who stay the same." And more on that in episode 4. Or perhaps you're thinking, well, life is kind of boring without social media. What is there to do? There's nothing interesting anymore. And I can't completely disagree with this statement. However, on the surface, everything takes time. I mean, 9 months ago, I removed all my social media apps, and after 9 months, I'm still going strong. You can't really expect to remove social media one day and then instantly reap the benefits of a genuine life the next. Everything takes time in this world. And after some time off social media, you might realize there are some interesting things in your life. Just wait and see as we talk about journaling in the next one. But before we go into journaling, there's this little part I kind of missed out back there. But whenever you feel like you're bored or you feel like quitting, right? Maybe you don't want to do this thing anymore. Remind yourself why you did it in the first place. Why are you quitting social media in the first place? Is it because you realize that maybe without social media, you can find what you genuinely want to do? Of course, everyone's life is different, and it's your job to find what your reason is. And at the end, maybe life isn't as boring as it is without social media. Now we're on to the power of journaling. So this is my journal. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years, so I have another one in the back. One of the biggest things I've learned from journaling, and I think that you might soon as well, is that you can write whatever you want here. It's a place where you can talk to yourself. Write your problems down, write your thoughts down, your worries, your fears, and being able to logically kind of think about them. Not only logically, but actually dealing with them. When you write something down, it almost feels like you're getting a step closer to solving it. By writing it down, you're facing your fears. And I think that's such a big part of journaling, right? Because it's probably been a hell of a long time since you've actually talked to yourself. And this is my first journal. So, I think one of the other really, really important, or one of the great parts of a journal is that you can see how far you've come, see how you've grown. And I think that is something that, as many photos or videos you can take in life, it's almost impossible to really imagine like those mundane days, or those days you were at school, or you came a very boring day, you might say. But journaling is a way to remember those days. Even if they might seem boring, looking back, I mean, it's honestly just amazing how much you can like think back and remember from those days just from writing it down. And there are other types of journaling out there. In fact, most of my journaling has been what they call gratitude journaling. I did this thing where you like thank people every day, but after a while, I realized I was following what other people were doing. I started off just writing to myself, and then I switched to gratitude journaling for most of my journal. And now I look back and I only remember the days where I write down to myself what I want. So, as now me giving advice to you, I've been following what other people are doing and it hasn't worked out for me. So choose the journaling style you want to. I'll recommend first just write it to yourself, man. It's really, really that simple because you're just genuinely being yourself. And as you can see, July 10th, first journal entry. It really is amazing to see how far you've grown through journaling. And it's very easy to start. Just get a big notebook and just write the date down, write what you want. Thank yourself later. And before we continue on to the final part of the video, I just want to add this little part, like just then. But on July 10th, 2023, I watched probably one of the most important videos I've ever watched. Like, if there was ever a canon event in my life, it was this one. This video single-handedly changed my mindset on literally everything. I watched that video on July 10th, and immediately that evening I started journaling and doing all these habits and things. This video changed my life. It's by Leon Hendricks. It's called How I Wasted My Something. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't watched it in a while, but if it clicks for you like it did for me, well, all I can say is that just watch things change, man. This video really hit for me personally, and it's very. I still really connect with this video. I still use a lot of its knowledge in what I do every day as well. Especially at the end, the final line of this episode will be from this video. This video has really stood the test of time, to be honest. As much as I've grown, I mean, this video is still like, whenever I come back to it, it's just, I get that knowledge back again, and it's really, really, really valuable. So, I will link in the description up here somewhere for you guys to check it out. Please just watch it. Don't skip anything. This is a really good video, and if you click it, thank me later. And as I wrap up this video, so I can hurry up and make episode 2, I'm reminded that things take time. For the past year, I haven't been on social media, except for YouTube, which I'll explain later, but don't expect things to happen in a click. I haven't been on social media in a year, and it's not really changing anytime soon. I realized that the idea, or like that quote that says, the journey is more worthwhile than the destination, is really, really true. Seeing yourself grow and pushing past these hard things is way better than just that. So even if things aren't going your way or you're just starting, don't feel that much pressure, because everyone kind of goes through this at the start. And at the end, you'll be thanking yourself you did it in the first place. Also, don't forget the journal. Very important, very, very important. And as said before with YouTube, the goal here isn't to permanently remove all your social media apps forever so your life becomes a living hell. In fact, it's realizing that when you remove something, then you only truly realize how valuable it was. For example, removing Instagram, I'm not going back to Instagram. I'm completely fine without it. In fact, I actually hate going on it, but that's a story for another day. But it's things like YouTube, which I take a break when I need to take a break. I go on YouTube. But it's realizing that some apps you need, some apps you don't. And it's not to say that you permanently need to get rid of all of them, but when you realize that there are some apps, maybe like Instagram or even YouTube, that really don't contribute anything to your life or really just aren't that meaningful, you can throw them away. And that it becomes very obvious when you don't have them if you need them again or not. And I think one of the main drivers for removing social media is that when you remove these things, you realize that you have freed up so much more time to do the things you actually want to. I mean, I think personally for me, when I look back, there was a whole life out there I was totally missing out on by going on social media. And I'll do a little story here, but as we talk about later in episode 7 about memories, I remember when I was in China and I was looking at all these I asked my grandma for like old photos of my parents. You know, I remember I was like dead ass crying. It was actually so beautiful. And my sister was there looking on social media. Not to judge anything, but I could see that part of myself in her when I used to do that before. And I've realized that over the years that I used to do that, I would have probably missed out on a lot of things as well. A lot of meaningful things in life. And at the end of the day, it's your life. Maybe you've realized over this episode or over maybe this past year that following others might not be the best way to go. Maybe the road that's taken is where you're meant to be. And as we talk about next episode, it is realizing that these weaknesses you put yourself onto, maybe your routines, your sleep, your exercise, etc., 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 aren't actually things that stay still. These are improvable. You can change these things if you actually care about them, and you do so. And as I wrap up this first episode, maybe you're feeling a little on the fence on whether to remove social media or not. Should I do it, or should I not do it? But maybe there's this little voice inside of you, tiny little guy, that's just saying that maybe you should remove it. And if that is the case, or even if that isn't, I'd like to leave you with a quote from that video. The reason why you can't is the reason why you must.